Sat Sri Akal, welcome to I'm a Brown Girl. My name's Amma. On today's episode, I want to express how home is never home until it is. I recently moved house again and I couldn't help feel the heavy emotions of how home has never felt like home. When I was at what I thought was home, being my family home, it never really felt like home, but that's all I really knew and that's what I thought home was. And when I moved out, it still never felt like home. Home to me is being able to decorate your space how you want, not having any rules or restrictions to whoever visits, to be able to have the freedom to walk naked around the house, and there be no worry of a landlord being able to kick you out whenever they feel like. On today's episode, I really want to talk about home and spark a conversation about what I would consider my home to look like, what home once was for me, and how home currently is. I hope this episode inspires you to think about your home and how you would like to feel in your space. To begin with my first home, I was born in Stratford, Newham Hospital to be specific, and I had a very Indian childhood where I was drinking jar, which is Indian tea, at the age of 3 because what even is milk? And it was genuinely quite pleasant. I then had my second home in Ilford, which was my family home as well, and I got quite lucky because I had my own double room, and I got to decorate my room how I wanted because my dad's literally Bob the Builder. When I returned back from uni, I wanted to redecorate my room to just give it a more adult vibe. And I did the first thing I could possibly think of, which was paint one of the walls a dark grey, almost black, to represent my dark soul and my obvious depression. I was quite lucky that I had my own space to decorate it how I want and do what I want to it, put all the furniture in. So it was nice in that aspect. But at the same time, just because I had my own space, it didn't mean that that was home because it never felt like home. I wasn't truly at peace. That home I was in didn't make me feel safe. It didn't make me feel at ease. So naturally, it never felt like home. Even though my room was my safe space, it didn't mean that coming out of those 4 walls, it never felt safe and it never felt like mine. The amount of times my mum said to me, get out of the house, I don't want you to be here, you need to start paying rent, which is so taboo in Asian culture because in brown desi families, we do not make our kids pay rent. And I was always brought up with that idea being like a white thing, that only white families do that to their kids, that they start making them pay rent at 18. That's the kind of upbringing I had where it was like, oh no, your parents will never ask you for rent. But because they don't ask you for rent, it doesn't mean that they won't kind of rub it in your face and be like, you live here for free. I've given you a roof. I've fed you. I've clothed you, everything. They'll kind of rub it in your face, which I hated. But again, I don't think my parents would have ever made me pay rent. They'd just kind of say it to me to make me feel like shit. It was never going to be the space that would have allowed me to flourish because my privacy was always invaded. Fast forward to now, I've had to repack for the 8th time and I had to make sure there was no marks left and make sure everything was clean and just left the way I found it in the first place. I must say that I found it really hard to pack this time because the place I'm moving to isn't my choice. I don't even think I have the words to explain the issues that have arisen as a result of moving into this new place. Either way, I have suffered enough with the London renting market. So I feel like no matter what the challenge is, I know I'll be able to get through it. It is so mad to think that I can pack so quickly amongst feeling stressed, anxious, having PTSD, just work stress, working alongside and coming home every day after work and packing so quickly is insane. I literally for 2 weeks straight was sleeping maybe 4 to 5 hours and still going to work, still having to pack. And I was putting packing off because I was so stressed about it that it's not that I left it till 3 days, but kind of left it till 3 days because I didn't really want to move. I was sad leaving the current place that I was at and I was already stressed about moving. So procrastination really took over me. Nonetheless, I was still able to pack most of my things and my girlfriend helped me as well, which was nice. On the day of actually moving, it was shambles because the driver had been booked for 11 o'clock and then he called that morning and was like, oh, I'm going to come at 12. So I was a bit annoyed, but I was like, okay, it's only an hour. It is what it is. I just had an idea in my head that I'd want to be back home at around like 6, 7, not too late because unpacking, packing, driving, everything, it is quite tedious. So he then called back and was like, oh, maybe 2:30. and then said 3:30. So at this point, I was just getting annoyed because he kept on changing the times. It just got to the point where like the back and forth was actually pissing me off. So me and my girlfriend, we made the decision that we're going to book a transit van, like the big white ones, load everything. She drove me an hour and a half, unpacked in 28 degrees. So you can imagine sweating so much, going up 2 flights of stairs, then driving back an hour and a half. Mind you, it was rush hour as well. And then having dinner, showering, going to sleep, and going straight to work the next day. She's a real one for helping out, but my God, was it shambles. But either way, I think as soon as it was done, my anxiety reduced because I was like, okay, that's like 1 out of the 5 things done that were stressing me out. Having seen the new place, I'm going to try my best to decorate it how I want and make it feel a bit more comfortable and feel like home for me. I hope I just kind of grow into it and take every day as it comes, but I don't know. It's going to be a journey, to say the least. In terms of home for me right now looks quite unstable. The house I'm moving to is not even complete, but that is just a whole nother story that I don't even have the capacity for right now. Because if I start talking about it, this podcast episode is not going to end and it's probably just going to be me crying. But I'm currently at my girlfriend's house, so I'm so grateful that I have somewhere safe to sleep and I'm being taken care of, which is lovely. But at the same time, I'm technically homeless / squatting at my girlfriend's. So yeah, it's unstable, but it's all right. At least I'm with my girlfriend. I really wonder if people can relate to me in terms of feeling like home is never home or feeling like they're not in a space where they can be completely free. That even when you do get a space outside of your family home, does it ever really feel like home? Does renting ever feel stable or like your own? I wonder if it's a social construct because many European countries don't believe in owning a home. They will rent for the whole of their lives. But with South Asians, owning a home is seen as the highest level of stability or financial stability. But then at the same time, owning a mortgage till the day you die seems like a stupid idea. Or is it because I've never seen money like that I can't even mentally comprehend that owning your home outright can even be a thing? A lot to think about there. Let me know your thoughts. In terms of what home would look like for me in the future, I don't think I'm tied to one place in terms of location because I don't know where I would live. I don't know if the UK is completely right for my soul and how it makes me feel because London really does make me feel miserable at times. London is just stupid with the prices and I don't really know where I'd be most happy. But in terms of decor, I definitely want to implement a lot of South Asian interiors and a lot of woods, a lot of like the paneling as well is beautiful. So a lot of bold colors as well, reds, orange, rich colors, just to make it as South Asian as possible. If I'm not already living in India, I want to make it feel like that as soon as you walk in, you feel like you're in India, regardless of where that location is. I want to have a lot of mid-modern century furniture and a beautiful garden where I can meditate and exercise and relax and drink my tea. So that'd be magical for me. Most importantly, I'd want to have a beautiful kitchen because I used to be an ex-kitchen designer. So if my kitchen wasn't beautiful, it's kind of embarrassing. So it has to be nice. And I'd want color. I'd want it to be bold. Definitely a gas hob because if you know, bro, one thing no one talks about, yeah, if you're South Asian or you like to make a lot of like ethnic dishes, a gas hob is needed. It is a necessity. Like making roti on an induction hob does not slap. You can still make it, but it just doesn't rise the way that you need it to, like the way it would on a gas hob. If you know, you know. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels like this, but I'm the kind of person where everything needs a space for its thing and everything needs to be in a certain way because I like organization and I like cleanliness. I don't like clutter. And if my space is disorganized, I feel disorganized. So I know my house will be very clean and organized and set in a way where if someone tells me, oh, where's the tweezers? I'll be like, yeah, this drawer, this shelf, this location that you can go and find it yourself, that it won't be me needing to file through 100 things to find one thing. Anyway, I hope that gave you some visual aid as to like what I'm trying to recreate for my future home, whatever that may be. And I hope that has also inspired you to think about your home and what kind of decor you'd want, how you want to feel in your space. And once you have that figured out, see if you can get some pictures and add that to your vision board if you haven't done so already. If you haven't got a vision board, what are you doing? Go and make yourself a vision board. They work. I can't wait until the day home feels like home, whatever that might look like. I'm not saying it has to be a mortgage or a penthouse or a beautiful mansion in the hills. As nice as that would be, I think I just want a space that makes me feel at peace, at ease, and not have to worry that I'm just going to be told to leave suddenly. We're coming to the end of this episode, and it's probably been one of the hardest, if not the hardest, to record this episode. Life has been very tough for me, and I like to do small check-ins at the end of each episode just to let you guys know how I'm feeling, as well as reminding you guys to check in with yourself. 2024 so far has been one of the hardest years for me, and the last 3 months have had me close to breaking point. Yet I've promised myself to stay committed to this podcast because no matter how difficult life gets, nothing can take away the joy I find in producing this. And even if one person can get through the day or is able to relate, that is enough for me to just continue with this. It's gotten to the point where I've almost lost faith in the universe. Almost being the key word. I'm trying my best to take every day as it comes, but if I'm honest with you, I am really struggling. I'm trying my best to stay hopeful because the world is not going to end. I could literally die tomorrow. I'm just finding it really hard to process my trials and tribulations, but luckily I have a very good support system. I have magnificent friends who are there for me. If I didn't have a guilty conscience and some wonderful friends to basically remind me to just rein it in, I would have probably smashed some windows and slashed some tires as well. But I hope that gives you an insight as to how I'm feeling. It's okay to feel low. What matters is how you pick yourself up, and remember to be kind to yourself. Don't let anyone tell you how you should be or how you should feel. Just allow yourself to feel and take every day as it comes. I'm glad this episode was a lot more free-flowing. It has made me feel better that I've recorded this. I can't lie, I'm kind of proud. The next episode is going to be released on the 26th of August at 7 p.m. which means by then I'll be 25. The thing is, I never actually planned to have my 20th episode released around the time I turned 25. It's just mad how the universe works. And I think it's wonderful because it's divine timing. So in true birthday fashion, the only right thing to talk about is the 25 things I've learned since being born. I'll be talking about some of the lessons I've learned, how my experiences have shaped me, some of the best advice I've received, some of the harder lessons I've learned too. So hopefully that will help you learn something about me or yourself. Sadly, that brings me to the end of my episode. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Sat Shri Akal. Bye.